Hey, it's Kid. First of all, I'm so grateful you're here listening to this episode. I'd love to be able to share announcements with you, events, things coming up. Please join my email list from kidcarson.com. The Kid Carson Show is taped at MindfulMEDS Studio inside Conscious Lab, downtown Vancouver, Canada. Kid Carson Show. Collin Haynes is here. What's up, brother?
Oh, great to see you.
Good to see you,
Thanks for having me here. Really excited.
Man, I'm excited about this app you built. We've been chatting for a while.
Yep.
On Instagram, back and forth DMs, and finally we're getting together, which is great.
Yep.
We don't know what the hell's going on with our elected officials. We have no idea.
100%.
And so I thought this is so cool. What's called My Elected Official.
Yeah.
It's an app.
MEO for short, but My Elected Official.
Yeah. What's the elevator pitch about what this thing does?
So the Cole's notes, and I'll give you the whole backstory and the inspiration moment from back then. But the whole concept is just a centralized location for how voters get information on all their elected officials. So from your federal government to your provincial government to eventually we don't have the data for that yet, but your mayor, city council, school board trustee, regional district, like everything down to from top to bottom, one-stop shop. So you can find out who they are, how to contact them, what bills they're working on, how they voted, their voting history. Yeah. So, and then a deep dive of stats, as much as we can find on them, and just to help educate people to make an informed decision and be involved and be informed. Yeah.
Because how are we voting right now? We're voting by someone's name we recognize or like the color.
To be honest, I'd say we're voting by manipulation, right?
By the way, I didn't mean color of the person. I meant the color of the party.
Totally. Yeah, exactly. I always vote blue, right? It reminds me of there's a movie a long time ago. I think was it Eddie Murphy? And he's like running for like U.S. Senate in like Florida or something. And he's only running because the guy who had the seat, last name was Johnson. He died, and his last name is Johnson. So that's all he did. No public appearances, just put signs up that says, vote Johnson, right? That was the whole premise.
And that's
of the movie.
it.
And he gets in. Right?
Yeah. We really don't know what's going on at all.
No.
And
there's a big gap.
Yeah. And then everyone's voting for just the top person running for PM.
Yeah.
And then they just, whoever's their local person.
Yeah.
But sometimes they don't even align those people.
And sometimes, to be honest, if we do a deep dive, and I'm not being like going to pick on one party or the other, I'd say this is across all parties.
You can pick on a party if you want, as long as it's the party that I want you to pick on.
Yeah, well, you haven't told me yet, right? So I didn't see a bumper sticker on your car voting like I vote this way.
Right.
But I think a lot of times like we're voting, just for that party leader, and the person who might be our local representative like might be like extremely unqualified like to be in office. They just might not have the background, right? Like they're just not. They shouldn't be there. We should have somebody with more skill, but we're just going to vote that person in because we need to vote for that top party, and it's that's pretty poor way to represent your local community sometimes, right? And you see it in sometimes if you ever watch the debates on House of Commons, the question answer period, like some of the nonsense going on there, it's ridiculous. They're like children.
It's like the new TMZ.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's bad. And like sometimes they're like, you're asking questions and, I'll talk about this with my kids in a second here, but they're asking questions and then the answers are like basically incoherent. They just dance around. They talk for a couple minutes, don't even come close to answering the question. And then they just move on. And it's just, it's sad politics.
Yeah. Well, I love the idea of this app because they want us to be asleep at the wheel.
Yeah.
Like they don't want us to know what's going on. So basically the app, you can go in there. I love that you can search for bills because we see a lot of stuff online that's like, bill this, bill see this, and we don't really know. Like we see someone upset about it or trying to promote it, but we don't even know what the bill is about. But you can actually search for a bill and it'll come up.
Totally. Yeah. So like some of the big ones right now they're being talked about, like, and whether you're for it or against it, it doesn't matter, but it's something that people need to be aware about is like Bill C8 and Bill C9. Most people don't have a clue about the content of what's in there and what they're getting. If they get anything, they're getting information that's screened through most likely, the large media institutions, right? So, like your Globe and Mails, your Financial Times, like your, Toronto Stars, like, the CBC, CTVs, right? And they're not doing a very good job of giving you like really good details or analysis.
They're not?
Yeah. Like surprise.
They're not.
Yeah. So, right. And then, and they're the ones who have the majority of the viewers, right, of the audience. And you're getting this, there's this hard data of what the bill actually is, and then it gets, regurgitated through, an opinion piece in the local paper or the CBC or whatever.
Who are getting money from.
Who are
the
getting
government
money from, so there's a conflict of interest right there.
Yeah.
And, so they're obviously spinning it in these opinion pieces like a certain way. And you can see that in right-wing newspapers and left-wing newspapers. It's hard to really get like an honest sort of like, opinion or breakdown or analysis of some of these bills. And then, the majority of voters are forming their opinion around that and not actually going to like the source data and saying, hey, maybe I should read this myself and understand what's in there, make a decision whether I'm for or against it, and reach out to my local MP and say, hey, this is how I feel as your constituent. please, act accordingly. We don't have that breakdown. So that's kind of one of the reasons why we built this, is to just connect voters to the source data and to their MP, to the representative, right? So we're talking, federal politics.
Yeah.
So, and just speed up that cycle of information, right? So if it's something gets dropped in the House of Commons, it's going to take a few days before, the media write about it. And that's going to take a few days before it gets into your lap. And, we can shortcut that in real time.
And how do you get the information that goes on the app?
It's all public, right? So, I got a team of developers and we just accumulate data, right? So we're building just a massive database and then, building a slick interface around it. So, you can have at it. So we can geolocate with your phone. We can geolocate where you are, which lets us know what ridings you fall into, who your representatives are at all levels of government. Then that tells us what bills are being worked on, for you, and then who you need to contact to talk about that.
Yeah.
So, right?
Did you have an experience that got you into this?
Is kind of a couple things. So I'd say sort of like the inception point kind of happened during, that COVID era, the government lockdown era. So I'm originally from Ontario, from London, and, live on the island now. My wife and I have been in BC we were like 10 years in Vancouver. Now we've been about 14 years in Comox Valley. And, during those kind of that lockdown sort of window, I was working as a realtor. And, I did a lot of business through open houses, right? I'm a friendly guy. I'm pretty chatty. I work at open houses, get a lot of new leads that way. And all of a sudden open houses were gone, right? So it's like that big chunk of my business just disappeared. And it's kind of like floundering, going like, what do I want to do? And I wasn't totally psyched about real estate anymore. I was like, it wasn't really the right industry for me. I wasn't in love with it. I don't really like a lot of it. There's not a lot of authenticity in a lot of people that work in that industry. It's a lot of like, it's not like,
schmoozy,
a lot of schmoozy, fake, just trying to win deals in relationship. Like people in your office will step over you to steal a listing from you. It's just kind of like, this is really where I want to be.
Yeah.
I'm making good money. I can sell $1 million house and I can sell like 5 acres and I can do the job, but there's no passion behind it. So during this kind of lockdown window, to kind of land my plane here, I was following some of the politics back in Ontario, and Doug Ford had a bill in the provincial parliament in Ontario, and it was like he was trying to get a 6-month extension on his emergency powers. I was like, well, that's a big ask there, Dougie, but and I think Bonnie Henry in BC was doing like 30-day renewals, which is still, well, we won't talk about that right now. But Doug was asking for a big extension. I was like, well, that's pretty interesting, right? So I was kind of keeping an eye on that. The vote happened on a Monday. And, so it was kind of like, working from home, and I was looking at the results, and I think the vote, there's about 126 MPPs, members of provincial parliament in Ontario. The vote carried with like 39 yeas, 29 nays, and the remainder didn't register a vote. So you've got like 50 some odd MPPs in Ontario that didn't register a vote on a pretty substantial bill. So I kind of looked at that and I was like, that's crazy. That's like an NFL player not showing up on Sunday and still getting a paycheck. It's like, right. You're paid to play. So like, go do your job, represent your community, and get her done.
So this annoyed the hell out of you.
This really bothered me because it's just like, it's not like, I have my thoughts on that bill, itself, but it wasn't about whether that was voted for or against. It was about the lack of representation to the community. And like, that really bothered me because that's a really bad symptom of a bigger problem.
And the people that live there probably just have no idea.
Well, that's
whether someone voted or didn't vote, or
that's it,
whether
right?
it's even happening.
I started sort of expanding that a bit, and like unpacking that whole situation. Started reaching out to all my friends and family still in Ontario. I've got my brothers, my mom, a lot of friends from school back there, and I started asking like, "Hey, did you know about this vote on Monday?" People were like, "I had no idea." Did you know about like how your MPP voted? And like, I have no idea. Do you know if your MPP voted? No idea. Do you know how they intended to vote prior? No idea. And I was like, do you even know who they are? And it's like, well, I think it's this person, but maybe that's my MP. Maybe it's this other person. Maybe that used to be my MP.
I don't. So clueless. We have no idea,
exactly, right? Because we're just too busy. We got work. We got kids. We've got our own personal pastimes. We've got Instagram pulling us and Facebook pulling us apart. And it's just like we don't have our hand on the rudder, right? Like the boat is just sailing itself. Well, actually, it's not sailing itself. Other people got the hand on the rudder, right? Because we're not paying attention. We're just sitting back, enjoying the sunshine, right? It's a pleasure cruise. Yeah. Storm's on the horizon, and nobody's steering, right? So I started looking at this like, it's kind of like stepping back and like zooming out more and more. And I'm like, okay, it's not just this bill. It's like other bills. It's not just Ontario. It's other provinces. It's not just federal. It's provincial. It's not just provincial. It's local, right? Like the more I looked at it, the more I just seemed like this is a big problem. And then I started looking at, well, why, right? And I even started looking into the States too, because I have some friends down in the U.S. And the U.S. is kind of bananas because there's so much more you can vote for. You can vote for judges, DAs, sheriffs. In some places, the dog catcher is an elected official. right? Can you imagine
What?
that? Like, you're running a campaign to become, I want to be dog catcher of, this small burg in Kansas or something,
You're
right?
kidding me.
Elected official, right?
Wow.
So imagine what kind of campaign financing happens with that.
To be the dog catcher. Wow.
Yeah. So it's like,
That's
anyway, so
wild.
the more I looked at it, the more I realized, this is a problem. And I started looking at sort of the way the data flows to the voter. And I started realizing, like, there's an issue there, right? It's the way we move the data around, the way you access it. Like, if you want to go on, like, the House of Commons website and try to find information on a bill, right, quickly and easily, that's meaningful, you can't. Right, because the information's there, but it's going to take you a while to go in there and find it, look
buried,
through it.
basically.
Yeah, it's not a convenient way to do it, right? So, and then you want to do that for your, federal politics, and do that for provincial politics, do that for local politics. You don't have time, right? You got some kids, you got pastimes. You want to go on your paddleboard or something. Like, you want to work all day, like doing podcasts with me. Like, you're busy.
Yeah.
So
you said enough is enough.
Enough is enough. Like, it's a simple solution, right? Like, in a sense, like, it's not. It's challenging. Trust me.
Yeah, it's not easy to build an app.
I've walked
dude.
away from real estate. I've walked away from firefighting. Like, I've sunk into building a startup. So that's a whole nother enchilada that's of challenge. But I mean, like, the solution is there. Everybody we put this in front of is really excited by it, and I'm putting it in front of, like, the left, the right, the Greens, the Republicans, the Democrats, everybody, and it's amazing to see how people are interested in something, depending on what their personal values are and their beliefs are. They could be really focused on something local or federal or whatnot, but everybody is interested in having more conversations, and it's really quite fascinating, how much people want this.
This episode powered by PHMX.
People are going to be able to come and spend a week with us and go home, and it's going to be the most epic week of their life.
Stem cells, breath work, even ayahuasca. Hello. Details on PHMX in the show notes.
So,
I'd be curious to know, out of your users, if they lean one way or the other.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's... I mean, when I logged in and set up my account, you didn't ask.
Yeah.
It's for everyone.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting to know.
100%.
Like, like, how do you typically see yourself? Do you see yourself as a Republican or Democrat, or do you see yourself as conservative or liberal?
Yeah.
And then
as we grow our user base, it's interesting to see how that data is going to change, and how people play with it, and then how their sentiment actually lies. Because sometimes people, I think, they feel like, oh, I'm this way because I've always been this way. But then when they start diving deeper into things, they realize, oh, well, hang on, actually, maybe that doesn't align with my own personal values. I'm actually over here more, right? Like, I know from, my, I would say, late teens, when I first started getting into politics, through my 20s, 30s, now into my 40s, my allegiances have shifted. And a part of that is because the parties themselves have shifted, but also as I've matured and grown and had a family and businesses and children, my values have, I wouldn't necessarily change, but started to highlight differently of what's really important to me. And with some maturity and some life experience, you realize, well, hang on, some of these things they talk about in politics, they sound good and sugary and sweet, but then you realize, oh, no, there's a big price tag that's very negative that comes with that. We don't really talk about that too much without trying to say too much about which way I lean.
Right, yeah.
Right?
I mean,
because we built this, we're like, hey, when I started building this, like, the product has to be neutral. That's it. Right?
Yeah. If you start coming out against this person or that person,
shoot myself in the foot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. My values haven't changed. I've always felt the same way, how we should respect each other and just, but I feel like the ground underneath me shifted.
Yes.
So I stayed in the same spot, and then suddenly everything got shifted all the way this way. And now I'm being called someone who supports a different party.
Yeah. It's like the label's just changed.
And I'm like,
right?
So the party I used to associate with has altered so much. Okay, I'll say it. This is no reflection of you.
No problem.
I grew up always believing liberal.
Yeah.
I thought I was liberal.
Yeah.
All my life.
Yeah.
I voted for Trudeau the first time because I really didn't know what was going on. I was just always,
Totally.
not the second time.
You didn't have the app.
Colin, not the second time.
Not the second time.
But I was just always liberal because I just felt like that's like growing up, that was the party that was what I was all about.
Yeah.
But then the Liberal Party changed so much.
Oh my God. Yeah.
That I'm like, wait a second, that's just not me. Now I wish I had had this app back then so that my first time voting for Trudeau wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
Well, and part of that is is this mainstream media, who I think are doing a horrible job of reporting on politics. They're doing a disservice to Canadians by all the polarization they do, right? And everything is always a negative about something, right? Like it's really quite sad. There's no actual just like, hey, let's meet and have a conversation, right? And that's kind of what the outcome we kind of want to have with this is that, hey, let's provide the factual information, and then let's create a opportunity for people to gather and have civil discourse.
That makes too much sense. Right? That makes too much sense, Colin. It would never happen.
Isn't that a Canadian thing, right? Like,
I know. We're not there anymore. It's so weird. But I always joke about, like, in my elevator, in my condo, there's like a little TV screen as like the news headlines. I think it's run by like Global or something.
Yeah.
And it's just always bad news.
Yeah, I was listening to the Dr. Ash podcast, and you guys were talking about that.
Yeah. It's like they just want to pump you with negative energy. Yeah. So by the time you get from your apartment to your car, you're already like steamed about at least one story.
Yeah.
And it's crazy.
It's negative on negative. And I like the way he said, like, they're bridging the negative story with a small negative story to get to the next big negative story.
Yeah. There's never a happy story.
No, exactly. Even like you're saying, like the it's not like, hey, box of kittens rescued. It's like box of kittens thrown away on the side of a road. It's like, it's got to be a negative, right? It's
right. You're right. They could have taken the same story and put a positive twist on it, but there has to be negative.
Has to be a spin, right? It's really quite sad. And they're not doing it. They're not doing a great job. And it's really interesting from all of my sort of research when this was originally like, a doodle on a piece of paper with a different name on it, and I was just trying to like bounce the ideas off people. I was like, hey,
when you were coming up with the app,
yeah. It's going through these stages. It wasn't just like hey, there's this problem, and I visioned this like beautiful product. It was just like, no, there's something here. I feel it. There's like, it's kind of this problem bothers me, and then the entrepreneur, like capitalist in me, is just like, ooh, business opportunity, all right? Because if there's a big problem, solutions make money, right? So, and I think there's an opportunity to be a very ethical business around a solution that does this. So I'm very happy about trying to build a global product that delivers a solution and so on and so forth. But to land my plane here, I'm a bit of a tangent again. I sort of realized it's like, from talking to left, rights, Republicans, Democrats, Greens, like everybody in the middle, I would say like 80 to 85% is common ground. Right? We all just want like good economies, like safe streets, good schools, like pensions, a strong dollar, like common ground, right? Don't bother me, I won't bother you, live your life, I'll live mine. Like that's common ground. But then we get manipulated with the media with like this polarization of the 10% over here and the 10% over there. And then, we don't know how to talk to each other. Right, and just actually have a conversation. We really witnessed that over, these. I don't like to say over COVID, right? Because it wasn't COVID that did the damage. It was bureaucrats and politicians that I think really did damage over those years. Where it's like, hey, you can go to the liquor store, but you can't go to the gym, right? Like those were the decisions that were affecting us all.
Right.
And those things kind of bother me. And I was like, we need to just meet in the middle and just talk and just be able to say like, hey, like we can disagree, but talk about what we disagree and why, and still have a beer, right? Without being like enemies. And those years kind of made people like polarized us so much where it's like, if you don't agree with me, you need to be canceled. And I think you kind of experienced a bit of that, right? It's just like, if you speak out the wrong way, well, that could be your career at risk, right? And if you have a mortgage, you got kids, like you've got a family you're supporting, like those are hard choices. And we saw, and that was one of the reasons that kind of like made me want to do this, is that I want to be working towards something that will provide a better future for my kids and a more engaged voter, base. I hope will do that. So.
Yeah. No, I would love to see this app, My Elected Official, down the road be something you could just vote on.
Well, that's interesting because people ask me about that. It's like, do you want to get into that? And I'm like, hey, in that area, I'm still a traditionalist. I am hardcore pen and paper. Right, like put it in the box, count it in the room.
But imagine it was like on the blockchain.
Yeah,
or something.
I think about that, right? Yeah.
Like if they would probably never let you do it.
Yeah.
But we're so, like you said, we're so busy with all the things. Yeah. Kids, extracurricular activities, jobs, hobbies. To stand in line, old school style, on a particular day. It's so archaic.
It is. But
and who knows what's happening once those ballots even get in the box.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Interesting, like that you mentioned that, because I think there's a little bit of tradition with that should be respected and cherished, right? Because not the last election, but the one two prior, not the one Carney won, but Trudeau's first win. I volunteered in my local polling station just to be a witness, right? So after I voted, I had a certain time from 6 to 8 where I got to sit in there in the corner chair and just watch the voters come in, ID checks, vote, put their ballots in the box, and blah blah blah. And then when the time went, they locked the doors, they cracked the boxes, dumped them on the table, and I got to stand there and watch them get counted, right? To me, that was the first time I've ever done that. And I was like, that was a very, inspiring moment, being like, hey, this is what it's about. It's about taking part. It's about being a witness and seeing what's happening and saying hey, I know that was a fair vote or fair count because I watched that box get emptied in front of me and counted. I know exactly how many votes came out of that box, where they went. I signed my name as a witness on the sheet. It's that's really cool, right?
I've heard these stories of people taking the boxes home overnight.
Well, this last election, it's bananas. There's all sorts of things like that happening. And then even in the last provincial election, actually, the two things I want to talk about here. The last municipal election in BC. So I'm in the Comox Valley. My local rec center is where I get to vote. It's a couple blocks from my house. So I walk down there, got my ID in my pocket. I walk into the gymnasium. They're like, okay, A to H, you go to that line. I walk up, pull my ID out, and they're like, okay, what's your name? I'm like, Colin. They're like, okay. And they cross my name out on their big book. And they're like, here's your ballot, go vote. I'm like, don't you want my ID? And they're like, no, as long as your name's here, you don't need ID. I'm like, oh, that's not cool. That's the alarm's going off.
Yeah.
And then I go and they give me this is the first time this is in BC. You got the digital ballot page, right? The scannable page. So then I go behind the booth, I fill out who I'm voting for, and then I walk over to the machine. It's no longer a ballot in the box. This was a scanner, right? It was an ES&S Model 100, a US made company. It's their digital scanner. I'm like, that vote was no longer counted in that room at the end of the day. It was scanned, dropped in a box, that's sealed and sent off somewhere else without actually being counted. So there's a chain of custody problem with that vote now moving locations without being counted here and then counted again there, right? So there's chain of custody issues.
It's scanned in a computer, which can easily be manipulated.
And then, so it's that started we're breaking away from this tradition of if you think from way back in the 1800s or something when they're voting in the local church hall, there's 100 people from the community in there. 100 ballots go in the box. They get counted in front of the 100 people. End of story, right? No monkey business.
Survivor is doing it better than we are now.
Totally, yeah. The last provincial election, it was the same thing. It was and I even asked the people running it. I was like, hey, what model is that scanner? What is that? And they're like, I don't know. And the guy walks over and looks around at it. And he's like, I think it's this one. He found it. And I was just like, I don't even know what's going on. And now we're dealing with digital poll books where, you can go to any polling station and just walk in there. They'll call it up in the computer and you can vote even though you're not in the right riding. Right? It's they're trying to add this convenience with all this electronic gadgetry, which, I'm not saying there is fraud or is manipulation, but it's opening the door to potential. And people really need to be aware of that, right? If they're all of a sudden involving, all these electronics in, the poll books, the voting, the counting, right? It's a mess. Even the last federal election, they were saying was it over 120,000 votes didn't even get counted, right? There's mail-in votes, don't show up and they show up after, or they're found in the garbage. So anyways, not going too much of a tangent, but no, it's old school traditionalist, man. Some things should be cherished.
Yeah. No, that kind of information deflates me.
Yeah.
It's so disempowering to think that maybe that's why people just don't even want to go vote because they figure that, what's the point? They're going to switch it up anyways.
That actually brings up a good point. And I mean, a little side note on that last bit is that, in the app, we kind of thought it's kind of like a safeguard in a sense. If we're building a big enough, sentiment, because you can go to any politician and give them a thumbs up, thumbs down, or any bill that's being worked on, give it a thumbs up or thumbs down, so we can start catching, tracking sentiment of how people actually feel about our politicians and about what they're being worked on, with the hope being that come a next election cycle, you can look through the app and say, well, Mr. Politician, you want me to vote for you, but I see here you didn't vote on this bill, which was important to me. You voted this way on this one and this way on the other one. So now we have you're voting against what your community wants, and you can have hopefully some recourse with politicians.
That's so cool, man. You need to get this in schools.
Well, thank you for the lead-in. So we want to roll in
you've already thought of everything.
A meal light. Yeah. So here's
we haven't talked about this off air.
Yeah, totally. Right. So you're good at what you do, kid. You're good at what you do. So a few years ago, this was the first Trudeau election. My kids were in grade 7, right? And they were doing a little bit of politics, talking about the election cycle in their classrooms. And I was talking to my kids about it. And the information they were talking about was so surface level and brutal. There was no deep dive, and there's not even a bit of a dive.
This happening in your kids' class?
It's my kids' class. Like, they're just their teachers talking about it. There was no real good package to educate them around it. It's really dependent on what the teacher brings in. There's no platform they can use that's really good and neutral. And there's a lot of teachers that are very biased in terms of how they deliver. And nothing against them, but it's just like
it's human nature, I guess.
It's human
right?
nature.
Yeah.
But it's interesting when I talk to my kids about it because they really pick it up really fast. And, I think it was that was the election where they didn't let Maxime Bernier take part in the federal debate, the leadership debate, right? Even though they were running a candidate in every single riding. The Greens weren't even running a candidate in every single riding, but they were on the stage there.
Yeah, that was bizarre.
It has to do with like how many votes you got before and like in previous elections. It's really garbage, right? It's like, hey, if you're running a candidate in every riding, you should be on the stage with all the leaders, right? Like, let's make it fair.
Hey guys, it's Kid. I know a lot of you know this. Some of you don't, though. I mean, government money is fiat. Gold is real money. When you learn the difference, your jaw will drop. Start your Soundmoney Wallet. Trust me, now is the time to start getting hip with this stuff. Soundmoney Wallet is expanding to more countries every week. People are moving their savings out of the big banks and they're moving them into a Soundmoney Wallet. But why? It's physical metals, not paper promises, okay? You can access it instantly, liquidate it if you need to in a pinch, buy, sell, all online. It's unbelievable. And it's physical gold and silver. Find the details in the show notes or just go to kidcarson.com/gold.
But anyway, so there's stuff like that was going on where they're not even talking about, like, to my kids being like, hey, not every leader is even on the debate, because they were showing the debates.
Your kids are saying this.
Yeah. Well, the kids were talking about saying like, hey, how come this party wasn't in the debate, right? So, that was interesting to see my kids picking up on this. But the best part, I absolutely love this because it was just so pure. And this is what you get with children, right? When you talk to them, they watch the debate and they come home and they're like, Dad. And I'm like, what's up? I'm like, we watched the debate. And he's like, yeah, what do you think? And I was like, oh my God, Dad. They talk and talk and talk, but they never answer the question. And I'm like, welcome to politics, girls. Right. And they picked up on it so fast.
And how old were they when they watched that?
This is in grade 7, so they're like 12.
Yeah.
Right. And I have twin girls, so they're both in the same grade. And they were just like mesmerized by the fact that like they would talk for minutes and dance around and never actually, answer a question with like a solid answer. Like, this is my position on that question. Yeah. There you go. It's like, that's it. Right. And I think, the kids pick up on it. Kids are great, right? And I think it's a great opportunity for us to tap into the kids and, it's like, hey, we can get them on the brand. But it's like, no, we're building a good product, just help them educate so we can build a meal light version. And we want to do another one for universities to help poli-sci, students, like, work in that area. But it's amazing because I think the kids pick up on this stuff, but as adults, we don't. I think we don't do it sometimes. We don't realize like, hey, that politician, he's a good speaker, but he doesn't actually say anything of value, right? They just dance.
Okay, I got an idea.
Yeah.
I can cut this out of the interview if you want.
We'll see.
If you're like, wait a second.
I'm nervous. Where are you going?
If you're like, this is such a good idea that I don't want anyone to steal it.
Yeah.
But if there was just a white label version of this app, My Elected Official, that high schools could use for their own internal, like students' council votes. You ever thought of this?
Well, a little bit, yeah.
Okay,
a white label version that people could use. Yeah.
Yeah, because then the kids could they could post, whatever their bills are, like, better food in the cafeteria or whatever it is.
Totally.
More school dances. And then people could vote in that app, and then they're trained to use the real deal.
Yeah.
When they get out in the real world. They get old enough to vote. Yeah, right?
Just be involved, be engaged, right?
The app makes it just so appealing for young people.
Yeah.
And people, who don't want to go spend an hour on a website to search for the bill or just only vote when they have to stand in line for 2 hours in the rain or whatever.
Yeah. And it's with what
this is awesome, dude.
Yeah. Like with what we're doing too. Like if you're here's a couple examples, right? So as I was sort of surveying my sphere of people that about this, as I was sort of like trying to decide, is this something I should chase? Is this a dream I should chase? Is this a product that we can blow up? I was talking to different people, and one of the people I was talking to, passionate hunter, right? So he was very passionate about federal politics around the gun laws and what's going on there, right? Because you know what? He's a licensed, firearms owner in Canada. He likes to hunt. I've been to his house. I've seen like his trophy room. Like he's bagged some big animals. I've eaten some of his deer, right? Pretty cool. Very focused there, right? So we can...
See, I could never hunt.
Yeah,
But I will definitely take a steak from a friend who's hunted.
Totally, exactly.
Just nothing like it.
I can't.
You know?
I don't think I can handle the processing. Right? Out in the bush of a moose.
I'm a wimp.
I'm a wimp animal.
I would be too sad.
But man, a good bison burger.
Yeah, like old school. Like you captured it, and you know.
Yeah, and I appreciate that because he's not just a trophy hunter. He's like, oh, I just got a head on my wall. He's like, no, he took, like he's got a couple big freezers. He's got like, if there's ever, if shit hits the fan, there's a lot of food there.
His
and
family's
a lot
good.
of guns.
Right.
Right. So
yeah.
It's a safe spot.
Yeah, he's a guy you want to be buddies with.
Yeah, totally. Right. So and then
sorry, I cut you off. You were saying
So he's very focused on that area of politics, right? So we can with the app just help highlight that and then notify him like if something's going on in that area, right? So it's like boom, you get a push notification saying, hey, there's a change to this, this gun law is getting its next reading, right? Or this is happening on this.
Oh, this will give you a push notification.
Yeah, we can do that, right? So these are things like, and
cool.
we're thinking about the future of where we're driving this app, right? Of what we can do to help you be more engaged in the areas you're focused on, right? So I've got another friend who's in, I don't know if you know the island well, but Cumberland is in the Comox Valley, a little small town.
Okay.
Very unique boutique. They've done a very great job of keeping it very individual. They don't let any big franchises or chain stores in, so it's all mom and pop shops everywhere.
Awesome.
They've been doing a great job like buying up all the forestry land around the community because it's world-class mountain biking there and hiking. It's just beautiful. So buddy of mine there, he's really passionate about what's going on locally. He's on the local U-Rock board for like the mountain bike group that helps like raise funds and buy some of that land back from the forestry companies and all that kind of stuff. So he's hyper focused on local stuff, right? So as we build our database into that, we can help him be more engaged on that, right? So we can kind of fine tune and say like, hey, what are you focused on? We'll help you stay engaged there, right? You don't have to be dumped. Like we don't have to dump everything on you, right? Like we can help you like, follow your passions in politics, right?
It should be the communication platform for all of these officials. Want to put out a press release? Don't send your press release to the mainstream news that people don't even trust anymore.
Yeah.
Put it on the app. And the people that care are going to get the notification like, bing, your mayor just put out a press release or something.
Where we are in like the small towns on the island, it's like if, we have a paper that comes out like once a week. Right, so if something drops and I like,
you still have newspapers there?
Totally,
wow.
Yeah, delivered to my door. Wow. It's mainly flyers.
So quaint.
It's mainly flyers. It's mainly like it's basically like, hey, the record's here. It's great. What's for sale at Canadian Tire?
Right.
Right. Like, oh, great. Yeah. There's drills for sale at Home Depot. Right. So we could do that. Right. So it's interesting. But the point I was trying to make here is that something drops in our town hall. Right. They're going to vote on something. Blah blah blah. It's going to be a week, maybe 2 weeks before that paper picks it up and puts it in the paper and gets it to the community. And meantime, they probably already voted on it. It's already done.
Yeah.
Right? So we can pull that data from their website because they have to publish it, drop into the app. If that's your community, if that's your postal code, boom, we can ping you. This just dropped. You want to look at it, open up and look at it. You don't, hit skip, move on.
Dude, it's so great.
But it's just like real time as possible. That's our goal.
I think after this last election, I became so disenchanted.
Yeah. Now,
with the political process.
Question for you.
Yeah.
Now, if you think back over your sort of lifetime, and this is something I've been pondering myself about my own sentiments that I'm trying to sort of overcome in a sense. Do you feel that you've been sort of getting this messaging in the background that constantly tells you, kind of almost subliminally, it doesn't matter to vote. Voting doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right? Like.
Yeah. I would say so. I don't know where I'm getting it from.
But you feel that, right? You're getting that message. Like, is it TV? Is it media? Is it in the background of movies? Like, what's going on? Someone says, oh, it doesn't matter. They're all the same. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You don't need to vote. And like, I feel like there's this messaging that goes on that's telling us that's driving us away. But at the same time, if you really think about it, it's so incredibly important to be aware of this.
And if you do work up the nerve to get, excited, or maybe excited is the wrong word, but care enough to get involved.
Yeah.
Then you're just walking towards the angry mob, and everyone's foaming at the mouth like they have rabies. Yeah. And you're like, I don't want to be around it. You know what I mean? Like for me, I was covering a lot of this stuff. Yeah. When the mandates were happening and everything. Yeah. And I was very passionate about it. Got me in a little bit of trouble, but also,
Did it?
really connected me with a great community of people who also care about the same thing. It was amazing. I would never take it back for the world. However, after some time, I thought, you know what? I don't want to be, and I've told this story a couple times, that I literally was playing Lego on the floor with my son, youngest son. Yep. We're just laying on the floor, we're playing, and he's like, I don't know, 4 years old at the time. Mm-hmm. And I found myself not being in the moment because I was thinking about something Justin Trudeau had done. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it was a wake-up call for me. I'm like, my son is 4.
Yeah.
One time,
Totally.
How many times are we actually going to be laying on the ground playing Lego together where he's so engaged and we're having fun and joking and we're doing voices with the characters and doing all the cool dad stuff,
Totally.
right?
Yeah, been there, man.
Loving it. Yeah, you're father of two daughters.
Two girls. They're 16 now, but it's like those moments when they're so young.
It's so precious. And I'm like, I cannot believe, and I was ashamed of myself for a minute. I'm like, I can't believe I'm sitting here fuming about something that some politician said.
Yeah.
And that was for me, I'm like, okay, I don't want this to be my life.
Yeah.
I don't want to just do interviews about angry mob stuff. Like, totally. I want to go back to what I was doing on the radio, which was interviewing all different types of people, but all different types of things. I want the conversation to be fun, some serious, important still.
Yeah.
But then throw in some fun ones. And
we can talk.
I just wanted to step back from the whole political scene, even though I keep my tabs on what's going on, obviously, but
you have to.
I can't obsess over it anymore.
Yeah. Because that was seeping into your life, and that's robbing you of time from your children, which is priceless because you don't get that back, right?
Yeah. And there are people, there are friends of mine who are now just obsessed. Their Instagram accounts are still, every post is, and it's not that it's not important. Yeah. But I'm like, dude, I need my energy to be in a positive space. I want to live my life. I'm going to be 90 years old, and suddenly all I did was argue about
what did I create?
Yeah,
right?
what did I
leave behind? Right? And that's one of the things, like, I remember, during some of those mandates, being up, like, I was almost kind of like the last person to go to bed in my house, right? I make sure, like, my wife's Italian, so she cooks most of the meals. I'm pretty good at breakfasts. I'm pretty good at, like, making some nice cakes. I'm a good scone guy. Yeah. Although my daughters have taken over that. They make better scones than me now. So it's kind of
let the Italian woman make most of the meals. Like, that's a good idea.
It's like, honey, you cook. I'll leave you a clean canvas in the kitchen. You just mess it up like crazy. Like, her, like, buys in goat cheese, spinach, lasagna is like the best thing. You ever on the island, you got to come over for that.
Wow, yes,
it is
please.
Like it's amazing, right? I was like, if we make a food truck, we'd sell that. It's like $20 a slab, right? Like,
wow.
Anyway, so it's like you make all the food.
How are you so lean? You're in such good shape. I don't understand how this is.
It's Italians, right? They eat good, like clean, right? It's if we had the pasta that they have in Italy, we'd be even better, right? Because our pasta is not the same as the GMO wheat, and anyways, that's another episode. Right. But you should bring her on, right? That'd be a great one for you. But anyways, it's I was thinking about some of this stuff, and sorry, I was up late, and I was like, we had dinner, and got my kids to bed. My wife's gone to bed, because she was, working. She's a doctor, right? So she's working in the medical industry, and she's dealing with like a lot of pressure during those mandates and stuff. And that was a rough time for anybody in healthcare. But I remember like sitting up like late at night. I'd finished the kitchen, and I think I'd poured myself a little scotch or something. I was just chilling, and I was really upset. Right, with some of the stuff that was going on. It was just really bothering me, like, to my core. And I was kind of like, this idea for Mio was just like percolating in the background. And, I remember like, a conversation I had with my wife, and she said, whenever you're really stressed, it's like that's something that was like Mr. Rogers said. It's just like, look for the helpers, right? Look for the people who are doing good. Right. And I started thinking about that. I was like, you know what? I don't, as much as this stuff is bothering me about what's going on in politics and things that are happening. And I was like, the only way we get through this is by building the change, building the better solution, building the future forward.
Yes.
You can't just sit here and stew and be mad and angry, because it just rots away at you and rots away with your relationship with your kids. And it's like, build something better. And, it's kind of like, in that window, I was just kind of like, I was really not happy with real estate. I was really feeling like it's not an authentic industry that I want to be in. It's like great people in there. They're making good money. I made some really good money in there. But it's like there's something like soul crushing for me. I was being drawn to somewhere else. And, it was there was that catalyst moment. It was like, I have to do something. I have to build, I have to create. Like, that's the passion that's inside me. And throughout my career of like sales and marketing and other industries, on my way to, getting here, I've got these like notebooks where I've just constantly been writing ideas down to like different businesses or apps or things I want to create and build. And then I realized it's like, why am I keep on jotting all these ideas? Why does my brain keep firing of something else to do and build when I'm in these industries? And I realized it's like, because I'm meant to do something different. So I called my old business coach, who's my coach my wife has used for a long time. And I was like, hey, Tom, I'm thinking about making a change here, a career change. I've got some ideas I want to run, maybe build some cool stuff. I want to bounce them off you before I just like do something stupid and just like make a big change. And he's like, all right, cool. He's like, send me 10 one-pagers of your 10 best ideas. I'll read them. We'll book an hour call and we'll go through them. So I did that. I kind of went through my notes, came up with some of my best ideas, and meal being one of them. It was called something completely different than really stupid name. It was like iVoter or something dumb. I was like, had no pizzazz to it, right?
Yeah.
Mio hit me one day, just like, there it is. That's the one.
So you say Mio instead of MEO.
MEO. Well, you can say it both ways. I kind of go back and forth. It's like MEO or Mio. My daughter
Mio is good. I've been saying MEO, but Mio is I like that.
My daughter wanted to put a W on the end.
Like meow.
Meow. She's like, my elected official worldwide. So it could be meow. And I'm like, I don't know, honey.
Meow. Yeah, that's something.
Yeah, so I sent my coach these 10 ideas that I had, and we went through them all, and there's some pretty big ones in there that are on in sort of my life plan of like, if I can go X, Y, Z with this one, this will help me springboard to launch some other companies and some products and stuff like that I want to do. But we realized like this one is the one that probably is the most globally scalable, which we really get excited by, because, there's nothing doing this right now. So, we can chase the 28 million voters in Canada, 260 million voters in the States, and 44 million in the UK, and we can start, ramping up. And I looked at how many voters there are in India, and I was like, oh man, if we can crack that egg. Right? Guess how many voters there are in India?
I don't know.
It's like 880 million registered voters. They had over 600 million voters in their last election,
wow.
Right? Like, so
really?
It's like, man, if I could get 10% market share in India, I'd have like 80 million people on my app, right? It's just like the sense of scale. So that's like the entrepreneur in me was just like, yeah, this is right. So this is cool. So we realized like this was the one it's globally scalable. It's sort of a first to market sort of solution. There's nothing really doing this. We've identified a bunch of different revenue streams that we can ramp up into this as we grow. And then I was just like, yeah, let's do it. Let's go. So yeah. So now it's the battle of like, building this, navigating the entrepreneurial sort of like startup landscape, which is a gong show, like getting incredibly frustrated because it's like you cross a hurdle and you're like, yes, success. And then you're like, oh no, there's like 100 more hurdles to cross, and then all of a sudden you realize like, oh, like you're not as far as you thought, but then you're further ahead than you've ever been, right? So it's
I think it's so cool, man.
And it's at the same time it's like incredibly frustrating because you start looking for support from like, hey, let's start talking to some venture capital. Okay, we're too early. Let's start talking to see if we can get some angels to help us bootstrap this, and it's like that. That's a challenge. Like, what kind of government support is there? And they're like, oh, there's actually not a lot, right? There's tons of money in terms of government support for businesses in Canada if you're a huge multinational, right, or something like that. There seems to be a lot of money being pumped into pre-existing companies that are already successful, which is kind of like scary in a sense because like, hey, we're shooting ourselves in the foot in Canada in terms of our own industries by not supporting kind of a bit more grassroots and building up. And then you see things like, I think it was breaking on the news recently, like another auto manufacturer who's been getting billions of dollars from the Canadian government is just like uprooting and pulling their Jeep manufacturing to the States. It's like, and I can't get a bit of grant money to help like hire a couple more people to help code. I'm
telling you, it goes across someone's desk and they go, wait a second, this guy's going to expose us.
Yeah.
Don't give this guy any money. You know what I mean?
Honestly, sometimes I feel like that. It's like, even when I was launching, it was like, hey, we put out press releases to like every major, news publication trying to just get some like, some press and some airtime and help us get us out to the public. And it's just like crickets.
Yeah.
Right?
I think this is genius.
Yeah.
I think anyone who hears about it is going to think that it's genius.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
Yeah. So, hey, like it, share it, push it out on your social.
There it is. Okay, so where do we find it?
So we're available on the App Store and on Google Play. And you just have to look up My Elected Official, or you can go to our website, myelectedofficial.com/download, and you go right there. Yeah. So that's it.
And it was easy. Like when I signed up, it was just my email, make up a password, and that's it.
Yeah. Right now it's totally free. We have some releases coming up that's going to add some more features to it. Eventually rolling out some premium features and things like that. So
yeah. I love the idea of getting notifications of what's happening in your own community.
Yeah. Right. So we really want to just sort of like speed up that information cycle, right? So we can get it as real time as possible in voters' hands, and then it's up to you to be engaged, right? But we will make it easy. What
I was saying before about getting disengaged with politics.
Yeah.
Now I'm more interested in like local.
Yeah.
Like I feel like those decisions actually, I care about who's mayor.
Yes.
Because they actually make the decisions of like, okay, is the Big Kits public pool going to be shut down? Or are we going to allow to have a beer on the beach? Or
totally.
like things that actually affect your day-to-day life.
Yeah.
That's the stuff I actually care about now.
Totally.
I kind of feel like everything else, when it gets too high of a level, just gets lost in politics,
totally. It does.
And red tape.
And I've realized that I'm kind of on this journey is that local politics is actually way more important than you think. And the scary part about that is that that's where we have the least amount of turnout, right?
Crazy.
And what happened recently is like no voter ID. I was just like, that's bananas. I'm not saying there is fraud happening, but that just opens the door for potential fraud, right? So if you can just not do it down too far down this road, but if you can just control the poll book and the list of names and know what those are, you could walk people in all day long and just be like, I'm Bob Smith, I'm going to vote. I'm John Smith, I'm going to vote. Right, like it's the potential's there, right? Yeah. So it's like that kind of stuff is like, and with, like I said before, if there's only 20% turnout, right, all you got to do is get 11%, right? It's not much to bump it across the finish line and then control local politics of what's going on in our your own backyard. It's bananas.
So this is in the States and Canada?
Yeah, we have mainly we're kind of focusing on Canadian data right now. So you can find all your MPs. You know, if you're everybody in BC, your MP. If you're in like Ontario, in BC, your MLA. In Ontario, your MPP, member of provincial parliament, things like that. And so in Alberta, then we're slowly just adding layers and layers of data. In the US, we have the Senate and Congress in there right now. So yeah. And we're just
congratulations,
just ramping up as much as we can, and then just trying to get more people to sort of get on board and back the project, and then we can just ramp up and hopefully scale. Yeah,
dude, it's amazing.
Thanks, I really appreciate it. I'm glad you've taken the time to check it out, and like I said, it's built for everyone, right? And we just want people to be involved and engage and have those conversations, right? Like, you know, we're like probably 85% all aligned, right? But
I really loved that you said that.
Yeah.
You're right. We have so much in common. There's so much of the drama you see in the news, the division, and I go, I don't know anyone. Like they paint certain people in certain boxes, like they're crazy. And we're all against each other. And if you just watch the news, you would think, wow, the world is going to shit. And part of it is, however,
there's some issues.
I go, but in my day-to-day life, everyone's cool, dude.
There's actually a lot of really good happening, and quality of life is actually really good in a sense. But we're taught that, like, you know, there's so much negativity going on in the media. And I was going to ask you, like, when you were getting that sense of just kind of overwhelm and it's just too much politics right now, like, where was your data source of where you're getting all that information, right? Like, what media sources are you exposing yourself to, right, while you're feeling that way? Like, that's an interesting...
It was just mainstream media,
right?
And then the people that are bought into it, who are freaking out, and then people are freaking out around you, and it's just one big freak show.
Here's a funny one. Like, if you... have like some different people in your life, some friends or family, and you know that they watch, or their main source of media is a certain place, right? Like it's really interesting to see how it has molded their view of the world, right? So I've got a family member who watches like nothing but CBC and CTV. Like,
what a combo.
That's it.
A 1-2 punch.
It's just a 1-2 punch.
And they're depressed, right?
Yeah. And it's just kind of like, wow. Right. Like, and then I've got, I know somebody else who's just like, they are just like 110% Fox News. Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm not saying like one is better than the other, but you can just see how it is molding them. Right. And their opinions and stuff, because they are, a very opinionated, source.
Yeah.
And we're like, well, how many of them actually take the time to go to the source data, right? Or,
hey, it's Kid. So listen, you've probably seen a couple of YouTube videos or whatever about microdosing and how it can cure all these amazing things. Most companies aren't living up to it. MindfulMEDS is. When I discovered them, my mind was blown. I knew I had to partner with them. So if you're stressed, a little bit of anxiety, I don't know, maybe you're depressed. You got some things going on, man. This could change everything for you. MindfulMEDS gives you the blends with lab-tested psilocybin, natural clarity. This is the most premium microdose you can get. They also have functional mushrooms that don't have any psilocybin in them. It's about finding out what's right for you. Go to their website, take their 3-minute quiz at mindfulmeds.io. I'll get the link in the show notes. Finally available in the US.
Save 15% off anything in the MindfulMed shop by using promo code Kid Carson.
I remember one time I was, when Trump was first elected in his first run in office in the States, and people were getting like so mad about it. And I was like, well, I don't really know. Like, he's like, what's your opinion? I'm like, well, I don't really think I have enough information to have an opinion. Like, I remember watching The Apprentice and like that kind of stuff. So I know like you're fired, like that kind of bit of Trump.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't really know him. Like, so I actually took the time and just said like, well, let me listen to a couple of his speeches and like, let me listen to what he's talking about. And I was like, oh, this is a very different guy than some of this mainstream media is painting him out to be. Because I just took the time and said like, listen, and just like be like, okay, do I agree with everything he says? No. Some? Yeah, maybe. But it's very different than what's being portrayed in the media sometimes, right? And that happens with like everybody, right? It's the same thing with, Hillary Clinton, right? If you only listen to a very, opinionated right-wing, news source, then your opinions of Hillary Clinton would be, very opinionated one way.
It's just eating babies or something. Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's crazy. It's all the different things you're reading. Not saying that's not true. I'm just saying.
Totally. But you never, it's just crazy.
I follow some pretty wild Instagram accounts.
Totally. Yeah.
I'm open to everything. Who knows what's theater and what's not.
Well, it's funny sometimes because, I like to sort of let my mind wander that way too, right? Because it's a very creative space to go into. Because then it's just like, hey, there's, infinite possibilities. Like I remember, random factoid. Like I remember being way back in grade 11 math in high school, and my teacher was talking about stuff, and she was asking a student beside me, about something, and she said how many numbers are in between any two numbers? And I looked over, and he was totally stumped. And I said, there's an infinite amount of numbers between any two numbers, right? And it's just like a mathematical concept, and it was just kind of that way of thinking was just just expand and be open to any possibilities and just allow your mind to wander and take in new information. And as you get that, then form your opinions. But yeah, I think sometimes we're too rushed to just jump to an opinion or to have an opinion, right? Like nobody is really, and I don't think our schools do a very good job of this, is saying nobody's really strong about in saying, I don't have enough information to actually have an opinion. I need to just learn more, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can step back and be like, I don't know enough.
So true.
And I think the media kind of plays with us that way, right? It's like they're just spinning the...
Well, the different... When a certain trending topic is, when the media is obsessing over a certain theme for a while, there was a point where you couldn't turn on the TV without thinking that the whole world was racist.
Totally.
And I'm like, wait a second, well, I don't know any racists.
Yeah.
No. I mingle quite a bit. I don't... When I look on TV, everyone's a racist. I go, in real life that I'm living, I don't see people running around acting racist.
No,
do you know what I mean?
It's do you see cross burnings anymore? It's just... I don't see signs up saying but then you sit at the back of the bus.
Yeah.
Or this.
It's crazy. Yeah, this is great. This is what you're building here is a great way to cut through the noise.
Yeah.
And just see what are they actually voting on? What are they doing? Who's doing it? Who's not doing it?
Who's in office representing you, right? Who is making the laws that you have to live under? What are those? What is there, when you see a bill coming up, some of these ones that are getting a lot of press now, like C8, C9, most people don't even know what's going on or in there, right? So it's, we're just going to put the information in the palm of your hand, right? You look at it, form your own opinion, call your MP, call your MLA, send them an email. That information's in there. You just got to press email, and it'll open up your email on your phone. And
it's amazing.
You can send the guy an email and be
download. I'm going to put the link, obviously, in the show description, in the show notes. So next time you're scrolling Instagram and you see someone saying, we can't let Bill C blah, blah, blah pass, and you're going, well, what is that?
Yeah.
You can go into the Mio app, search for it, and then you can just tap a button and send an email.
Yeah.
Whether you agree or disagree or whatever.
Yeah, you can hit on every politician, on every bill, there's a thumbs up, thumbs down button. Right?
Genius, dude.
And then we can just track the sentiment of how do people feel, right? And then you can call your MP and say, hey, this is important to me. I would hope you would vote this way on my behalf, right? And start sending that. And then we can track and be like, hey, in my riding, we've got, hopefully we get big enough, the idea is that we have big enough sample sizes to say hey, there's 20,000 voters in our riding. We've got, 13,000 people on Mio who gave this a thumbs up or a thumbs down, Johnny elected official, right? This is the way your community feels regarding what your party wants you to do. Represent your community, right?
So much better than those random phone calls you get.
Yeah, the auto dialers. And I mean, I don't know, during some of the COVID years there, it's we were trying to reach out to our MP, and it's just it's like crickets. You never get a phone call back or an email back, or you get a canned answer from an assistant that's just hey, this matter's important to us.
Yeah.
Please donate. Please donate here.
Right.
It's come on, man.
But if they see a whole wave of emails coming in about different issues, you're going to wake up a little bit and
totally
try to self-preservation.
Well, in a certain sense, it is. I think the smart politicians, is self-preservation. If you're constantly going against what your community wants, you're not going to last long, right?
Yeah.
But we don't have a great way of highlighting that right now. And you see, I mean, during the sort of inception sort of timeline of this app, I remember looking at it was it was Toronto Star, maybe it was Globe Mail, or it doesn't really matter. And there was this article, and the big headlines was 75% of Canadians want some egregious Orwellian concept in Canada.
They want us all to wear 5 masks.
5 masks and ankle bracelets, and you're whatever, right? It's crazy stuff. And then you look at the fine print, it's just survey of 1,200 people.
Yeah,
it's
way to represent the entire country.
Yeah, I'm
crazy.
That's ridiculous. It's I don't believe it. And people are going to argue well, actually these polling groups, they blah blah blah, and they sample sized it. And I'm no, I want source data. Let's get people saying how they think.
Yeah,
right. And that's move it forward that way.
Colin, Congratulations, man.
Thank you.
It's amazing.
Thanks for having
I love it. Dude.
Thanks for checking out the app and bring me in.
Hey, it's Kid. First of all, I'm so grateful you're here listening to this episode. I'd love to be able to share announcements with you, events, things coming up. Please join my email list from kidcarson.com.